Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, it's great to have you back. If you're new to the channel, really glad you joined us. Hope you like what you hear. So, in our long list of awesome guests, we have found yet another awesome guest. So, David Kiwi, he prefers to be called Kiwi. So, when you listen to the podcast, we call him Kiwi. We're not being condescending, we're doing what he asks us to do. He is a very high energy guy. He and his wife have a marriage coaching business. He does keynote speaking, and he's going to share a lot of tips and tools and techniques and kind of give you the backstory on how he learned these. He and his wife learned these. He's going to talk about the course that they offer and some of the coaching that they do with people, and super good stuff, super interesting. Without further ado, let's bring Kiwi onto the channel right now. So, Kiwi, welcome to Salty Ginger Talk. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
It is my pleasure. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to this since we had our initial conversation a little over a month ago. And your story is so interesting. You've got all sorts of good tidbits to share, and really excited about getting our audience introduced to you and the business you and your wife run, and kind of the whole process by which you got into that. So there's also all sorts of good stuff. So let's just dive into it right there. Let the audience know just a little bit about yourself, broad strokes, and then we'll do the deep dive kind of thing by thing after you do that.
Fair enough. Well, my name is David Kiwimagi. My last name looks like Kiwi Magi. And it was an interesting time. I joined the Navy, and, day one on boot camp, they're like, John Smith, present. What the? I was like, that's me. That's this guy. They stared at my name for probably a good minute, and they looked up at me and finally said, "You're going to be Kiwi for the rest of your career." And over a decade now, I've just owned it. I am known as the Kiwi. Me and my wife actually introduced ourselves as the Kiwis because our last name is so complicated. But me and my beautiful wife, Alexis, we've been working together now a little over 13 years, and it's been a rough ride. No kid ever is like, I want to grow up and be like a marriage leadership strategist coach. Like, that's my goal, man. I'm like, nobody has that dream, right? So I get asked a lot, like, how did me and my wife get into what we do? And it's a long story. We've actually sat down and we thought about, why did we do what we do? And the truth is, we do what we do because it was us. We went through all of this trying to work together. We went through ups and downs. We went through hell and back so many times. I've got a punch card. My next trip is free. Super excited about that. And we came out the other side and we said, oh my gosh, the principles that we have learned, we have got to share these with other couples. So what me and my wife do now is we coach entrepreneur couples who feel stuck and disconnected. We help them fix it so that they can build the marriage and the business of their dreams. And this usually comes down to a lot of uns. They feel unseen, unheard, unvalued. They're got a lot of unmet expectations that are unspoken. We remove the uns so that you can be seen, heard, valued. You can speak your mind honestly with your spouse and work together to meet expectations and build the business and the marriage that you've been trying to do. So for us, it's all about impacting other people, whether that's a CEO of an organization or whether that's an entrepreneur couple or a network marketing couple that's trying to make a difference in the world, because what they do is important, but who they do it with is also important.
Love that. Yeah, that's so cool. So let's start with the Navy. Did you go to the Navy right out of high school?
No, I did not. Actually, I didn't join the Navy till I was in probably my mid 20s.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What made you join at that point in your life?
Why did I join? It's a good question. My dad was a computer programmer, and he has a bachelor's degree in computer engineering, and he met my mom in a calculus class. Me, I am the offspring of nerds. This is what you get when two nerds reproduce, right? My dad's dad, my grandpa, he was also a computer programmer. He had a master's in mathematics. He worked for NASA and IBM. So growing up, they would always be like, son, you need to go into computers. It pays good. If you want to be a good dad and a good provider, go into computers. And well, I went into healthcare. I spent 7 years in emergency medicine. You name it, I've seen it. I've worked on the truck, OR, ER, PACU. Hand me a scalpel, I was that guy. Been there, done that. Well, after 7 years, and I'd been married, I had a kid, and I ran out of money for school. So I
Hmm.
joined the Navy thinking that was a good idea. It turned out it was. And when I joined the Navy, I walked into the recruiter's office. You walk in and there you start to do the ASVAB stuff. And I literally have 7 years of healthcare. I'm the perfect corpsman. And the guy looks at me and goes, you look like a computer guy. What? What do you mean? I'm not a computer guy. Anyway, I went into computers and did that for a little over a decade. And during that time, my wife's like, let's start a business together. And that was a great idea. Like, have 3 kids, homeschool. Let's start a couple businesses on the side until they take over. And then actually now that's what we're doing full time. And it's been a long journey. And we've had a lot of problems through it. And a lot of those problems actually started when we were first married and didn't even notice.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sorry, stop for a drink.
No,
Yeah.
it's all good.
Yeah, when we first got married, I asked my wife to make my favorite childhood meal, lasagna. What she didn't know was that it's the meal that my mom had made every year for my birthday. So my birthday's coming up, and my wife, she's an amazing woman. She's an incredible cook too, and she's like, I want to do it right for him. I want to do it good for him. So she calls up her grandma. She's like, I need a good lasagna recipe. She gets the lasagna recipe. She gets all the ingredients together, and you know how hard it is to make lasagna if you've ever made it. Any ladies listening to the podcast know what I'm talking about. Like, it takes a lot of work. So she put in all this energy and all this effort. She brings it out of the oven. She sets it down on the table in front of me. And granted, we're brand new married. We're in a 1-bedroom condo. We're just trying to figure this out. We haven't been married a year yet. And I smell that lasagna and I'm like, oh, I mean, it smelled good. It looked good. I was so ready. My hopes were here. But as soon as my fork slid into the first bite, my hopes were shattered. True story. I hit something like rubbery, and not like a good rubbery, like a bad rubbery, not a noodle. And I'm like, what on earth? I peek between the noodles, and staring back at me accusingly is a hard boiled egg. I'm like, what? Oh, hold up. And I'm looking at it, and I'm literally thinking to myself, do I tell my wife, my brand new wife, who's glowing with pride, that her lasagna has just committed an unforgivable culinary crime? Don't do this. This is lasagna. You don't stick vegetables in it. You don't stick eggs in it. Like, no. Or do I just, shut my mouth and eat it like a good husband, right? But the truth was, I had unspoken expectations. I wanted you to make it like my mom, right? This is what I wanted. I didn't say that. And now they went unmet. And it was like, oh my gosh. And I honestly felt unsafe to share how I really felt.
Mm.
I wanted to say something. I didn't really want to hurt her feelings. If I'm honest with myself, I was afraid of her reaction. Is really what I was afraid of. Because if I said something, I probably would ruin my chances of dessert, if you know what I mean.
I
Just
do.
be honest. I'm being honest, right? And so I'm sitting there, and my wife is an amazing cook. She really is, and she puts heart and soul into what she makes. She'll make a 9 by 13 pan of enchiladas. I'll eat the whole thing. It is so good. Like, she's an incredible cook. And I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking through this. What do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, well, happy life, happy wife, down the hatch. So I swallowed my pride, I swallowed my thoughts, and I swallowed the lasagna. It did not taste good. It was like, no, it was not like, no, this is not how this is supposed to be. And that really was the start of it. My wife's on the other side of the table. She's looking at me and she's thinking to herself, he's all quiet. What is he thinking? Does he not like what I've done? Does he not know the effort I've put into this? Does he not know how much I love him to make him a meal? I mean, we're broke. We're brand new married, right? Like, the
Mm.
effort that she put in financially and time wise to make this meal. And she's like, what do I do? Well, I finished my food and I stepped out because growing up, conflict resolution in my home was a conflict avoidance. You don't talk about the elephant in the room. You just kind of step around it and find the couch, right? It's what you do. And so this went on for years. When me and my wife didn't know how to communicate or conflict arose, we just buried it. But those things started to boil underneath the surface. and they would pop up. The fights got worse, the conflict got harder, and it got really bad. And what really made it bad is when we said, hey, let's start a business together. That seems like a good idea. So we did. And we invested, I don't know, 30,000 plus dollars into the business that was only making like $150 a month. So,
Ooh.
kind of a problem there, right? And it got so bad to the point where we're sleeping in separate beds. We knew something was wrong. Things weren't working out. And we reached a point where I had to be really honest. And I was like, our business is failing, but what's worse is our marriage is too. So my wife sat down and she said, we got to do something about this. Now we had taken lots of, therapy, counseling. We've gone to conventions, retreats and stuff, but putting it together was hard. Putting those principles together was hard. So we finally said, we need help. We need some help. And so we sat down and we got some coaching. And this was really the pivotal moment when things changed for us. This coaching was not about, oh, you need to be a better husband and here's where you suck and be better, or vice versa for the wife, right? This coaching was about, here's how you are and what you're good at. And here's how you are and what you're good at. And when me and my wife went through this, we started really looking at who we are as individuals. Turns out we are polar, and I mean polar opposites. And the biggest thing that was told to us was this: your differences are actually your greatest strengths. And so we started to research that, and we invested thousands of dollars into training, conferences, books, retreats, and studying each other's strengths and our capabilities that we had. And I started to see her in a different light. It wasn't an overnight transition, by all means. It was, you change your destination, or you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. We changed our
Sure.
direction and we started really working on it together. And what's been incredible now in our marriage and in our business, we look at each other and we go, holy cow, there are so many talents and skills that my wife has that either I was taking advantage of or didn't even notice. And she sees me the same way. Now we're seen. Now we're valued. Now we're heard. Now we can honestly communicate. We're not disconnected. We're able to communicate in a way that we both understand each other. It's really funny too. The biggest thing that we've developed over the years is common jargon or a common language. When I say something, she understands what I'm saying in back and forth. And this came through a lot of communications training. But it's been fun because it doesn't mean we don't fight today. In fact, we fight a lot still. Don't get us wrong. We're pretty strong-willed people. But every fight now is constructive. Every disagreement now brings forth fruit. Every single challenge and conflict becomes a building block for a better future because we know how to use these things to our advantage. And so if I could share a couple of things with your audience throughout the length of this podcast, I'd probably share the top 3 things that changed everything for us. And that was what we call, excuse me, sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. How to turn unspoken expectations into agreements. His business, her business, and not your business, and how to win every argument every time, guaranteed. I love that one because I like winning. And there's a little bit more to our story about the lasagna. I'll try to share that along the way. But we believe that every single couple in business, whether it's one person's in the business and the other person's stay at home, or whether you work together in the business, that every single one of them has the ability to build a thriving relationship that is the foundation for the rest of the business. Because nothing makes it harder when you're fighting at home trying to get product done at the office.
Yeah. Do you think when you and your wife first got married, like from the start, do you think you wanted the same things? Do you think you had common goals and objectives and ideas, or did you have to get those aligned as well?
We definitely had to get those aligned. We did. We had common backgrounds. We bonded over childhood trauma. But
Mm.
we had common backgrounds, we had common philosophies on life, but we had 2 very different goals when we started. And to the point, I shared my goals with my wife, and I'm like, I'm doing this over the next 10 years. And we were starting to date, and she literally told me, she's like, well, look me up in 10 years and see if I'm still around. Because she felt like she wasn't part of those goals. And I realized, wait a minute, I can do this whole journey with you. Let's back up, right? It took a little bit to sit down and align our goals, but the biggest area where we differed was how. to accomplish those goals.
Yeah. So I've been with my wife for 33 years, and we
Congrats.
were we were very young when we got married. We were 21. I was 21, she was 19 when we got married. And we just like a month in, we thought we'd be like a summer fling, and like a month in we were like, hey, this is it. This is the real thing. And it's funny to hear you talk about that because we traveled a very different path. We from the beginning have like confronted everything pretty quickly. And that's not always fun. It's not always easy, but by and large, we've gotten along. And so I'm curious how you work through that process because I've never done it. That's just not an experience I've had in my relationship. It's not good or bad. It's not a value judgment. It's just a statement of fact. So the communication part, how do you differ in how you communicate? Like, what'd you uncover as you did all this work and research?
One of the big things that we uncovered with each other was our primary goals in life. You can take a lot of personality assessments online. One of the ones that we use with our coaching is called the Gallup Strengths Assessment. And I love that one because the results are unique to everybody. None of them are exactly the same. One of the things that I learned, though, is I love moving people forward and getting things done the right way. To the point, I'll actually sacrifice relationships for productivity, which is not a healthy trait, by the way. But
Sure, no, I get it. Yep.
more about get it right than offending somebody. Whereas my wife is the total opposite. She'd rather sacrifice productivity to build deeper relationships and connections with people. And so when we sat down, whether it was business, working with the kids, working with our church, or whatever the case was, her priority was maintaining a good, healthy relationship with people. Where my priority was like, just shut up and get it done. And that was really hard at first. So we saw those as opposites. We saw those as, oh, well, we'll never agree when we first learned that. We're like, we'll never get along. When in reality, what we learned is we need each other. I drive getting stuff done, but I've learned the value of a relationship from her. Because for me, in my business, in what we do, in my home, in podcasts, the foundation of the success of this is the relationship. When I first met with you, right? One of the things that I do when I meet with hosts is I say, can I bless this person? Can I set them up for success? Will I be a blessing to be on their podcast? Because the relationship between you and me, if it was not a good mix, then it's not a good episode for someone to listen to. But if the relationship is good, then it's going to be a good episode. We're going to have some fun together and everyone's going to learn, which means we'll actually get stuff done when we have a good relationship. My wife also learned too that if all you do is relationship build and you never get things done, like, we got to build a business here, honey. Right? It's like, she's like, oh my gosh. But what was cool is she's not great at that. That's not her primary thing. And I'm not great at relationship building. We learn to rely on each other. So when we do like coaching one-on-one, my wife does a lot of the one-on-one coaching because she's really good at building those deep connections. When it comes to podcasts, Facebook advertising, doing conferences, webinars, or keynote speaking, I love that because I'm all about winning people over and getting things done the right way and just doing a lot of these like last minute spur things. And so we've learned to work really well together within our roles. Now, that didn't come overnight. That honestly came with getting help and having someone walk us through that process.
Yeah, well, I love the fact that you recognized it and did something about it. It's one of the things we talk about a lot on the podcast is learning is great. I'm not anti-learning in any way, shape, or form. Planning is great. I'm not anti-planning in any way, shape, or form. I advocate for both of those things. But none of it matters if you don't take action, right?
Yep.
And you have to take action if you want results. And it's funny to hear you talk about your wife and all the strengths that she has. I think we were both, my wife and I were fortunate because we're very different as well, just in terms of like the easiest way to describe our relationship, and it's been that way from the beginning, is kind of Beauty and the Beast. And so this is a much refined, toned down version of how I was 30 years ago, let's call it. And I've always been in leadership roles and I've always gotten a lot of stuff done, but I used to leave a lot of carnage in the wake when I did it.
Yeah.
And
I'm a bull in a china shop. You want a hole in the wall? Okay, cool. Did somebody else get injured? I don't know. Yours your hole.
Yeah, exactly. People like I joke around about it now, and like I think people will say, you can be a real jerk trying to insult me, and I'm like, what's your point? Like, do you think that's front page news or like totally
Doesn't
got it? Guilty as charged. What's next?
Oh yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's not like front page used to be, but I joke around about it and say everyone says that until they need something done or they've got a hard situation or a hard conversation. I'm at the top of everybody's list then. And so it's like horses for courses is the way I think about it because like we raised three sons and I've always been the one that makes the money and goes out and does things and et cetera, et cetera. And my wife has run our family and run our house and she raised our sons when they were young and she's 100% the glue that holds she's the reason that we have
Yep.
such an awesome family. The joke has always been if I had stayed home like somebody said to me one time it must be nice to have a stay-at-home wife, like to go home and have food ready and have a clean house, and I'm like so I'm not fucking my maid. I have a wife, not a maid. You just described a maid. That's not what she does. And rarely is their food made. Rarely is my house clean. There's three little boys there that tear that place up all day long. But what we do have is three really well adjusted boys and an awesome family because that's what my wife does.
Yep.
And I've always respected that because it's always been very important to me to have that in my life. And I don't know how to do it. I couldn't have done it, but she could, and she was
Yeah.
awesome at it. And I
Definitely.
always, yeah, I always valued and respected that. But by the same token, she valued and respected all the hard work I did and all the travel and all the grinding and the 16-hour days and the 3 hours of sleep, blah, blah, blah. She valued that and made sure she showed me appreciation for what I did. And I showed her appreciation for what she did. And that's like you're cooked in your relationship if you don't have that, right?
Oh, hands down. I totally agree with you. I'll be honest. I definitely did not start that mature. I got married at 21. My wife was 21. And a couple of years into our marriage, I had like the scene you just painted. I had that. So I drove home. I'm working, 2 hours drive each way. It was awful. And I get home, I'm exhausted. And I'm sitting in the car. I got my head on the steering wheel and I'm just thinking, how can I go through another day like this? I mean, a lot of us as men, we go through mental health things where we fight the battle on our own.
Yep.
Side note, for anyone listening, you are not alone. We've been there. You are not alone. But I'm sitting there and I feel alone. And I'm sitting there with my head on the thing. And I was like, I had some unspoken expectations of my wife. And I'll be honest, the maid comment, I love that, by the way. But I was like, it'd be nice if I get out of this car and I walk to that door and I walk into a clean house and I walk into the kitchen and dinner is made and I'm ready to hang out with my wife and my kids and they go to bed and then I can spend some time with my wife and just be a wonderful evening, right? And I had this expectation of that. Well, as soon as I put the key in the lock and turn the knob, reality hit. And you know what I'm talking about. I open the door and I'm stepping across the landmines of the activities that the kids had done, the mosaic art of the crayons on the drywall. And it's a rental. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I walk into the kitchen and dinner is not made. In fact, it's not even on the counter. What's on the counter is breakfast dishes still. And my wife is sitting on the floor with our firstborn running around and our secondborn strapped to her chest. She's nursing. She's got this exhausted look on her face sitting on the kitchen floor. And so I said the good husbandly question, what'd you do all day? I am still alive. I am still alive. But I did. I didn't voice my expectations. I just asked this like under the ground backhanded question, which could have gotten me killed. But my wife has a lot of grace and mercy. I'm so glad for it. But it was like, man, I mean, how do we do that? So for us, stuff like that went on for years. She
Mm,
had it, I had it. We didn't grow up in a home where we were taught how to voice our opinions. In fact, we were told, shut up, stay in your swim lane, right? I was told that at
yeah.
work a lot too. Like, how do you express an unspoken expectation? We all have them, whether it's in business, in marriage, with the kids, at home, in our churches, wherever the case is, wherever your community is. We have unspoken expectations. And the reason we don't like to speak them is because it kind of makes us vulnerable to open that up and be like, I have this expectation, I have this thing. So we came up with a challenge through a lot of our studies. We came up with this challenge that's super simple to do. And I encourage anyone who's struggling with this to try this. And you can do this with your spouse. You can also do this with a manager or a kid. But you sit down, and I recommend doing it over food. Everything goes better with some food, right? Sit down, and you're going to get 3 pieces of paper. On the top of each piece of paper, you're going to write your name, you're going to write their name, and then you're going to write both. So your name, their name, and both, and they do the same thing. Well, for couples, especially if you're a couple in business, I recommend pick a category such as the business or housework or kids, because this can become very lengthy. But pick a category and then sit down and then write in that category. So for me, let's say we take household work, right? We sit down and I write down, okay, I will do dishes because I don't mind doing the dishes. But on my wife's sheet of paper, I don't want to do laundry. I want her to do the laundry. So I put the laundry down, right? And that sort of thing. Well, when you're done, no cheating. When you're done, compare notes. If you've been married a while, these will probably match in a lot of areas. They won't match in all because things change and rotate. If you're newly married or dating, these ain't going to match hardly at all. It's the truth. But what happens is you'll find the areas where you have disagreements or unspoken expectations of each other. Perfect example, me and my wife both put laundry on the other person's sheet. Like nobody in my house wants to do laundry. Well, if nobody does laundry and all of a sudden I'm out of skivvies and I got to get to work and I'm like, I got no clean underwear, woman, do your job, right? Just saying, bad husband move there, but right. And then she's just like, well, why don't you help out? And it ends up in this argument because when an unspoken expectation goes unmet, it becomes a seed of resentment that grows like a weed in the garden of your relationship. And those little things of resentment can grow and get out of control over time. But when you do this exercise, you actually pull it out of that moment where it is unmet and you're out of underwear. And now you can talk about it. And now you can come to an agreement on it. And you go, okay, hey, honey, I don't want to do laundry and you don't want to do laundry. Let's put it in the both category. What would that look like? So now what that looks like is me and my wife. My wife washes the laundry because I work full time. She washes the laundry and drops it on our bedroom floor. When I get off work, I take 20 minutes and I fold it and I put it away. And this has worked really well for us for the last couple of months. But every once in a while, something changes. And so you repeat the exercise and you do it again. You say, okay, hey, how can we do this now? We taught this exercise. We had actually another couple through a podcast. They said, they reached out to us and say, hey, will you do one-on-one coaching with us? We're like, absolutely. So we're doing one-on-one coaching with them and we teach them this concept. And they sit down and they were like, oh my gosh, in our business, we had this whole social media thing and we thought the other person was going to do it. But when we sit down, we did this exercise, we realized, oh, nobody's doing it. That's why it's not getting done. And they came to an agreement about what parts they'll do together. And their social media exploded because it was just consistent after that because they knew what they were doing. And it made a massive difference for them.
Yeah, that's great. Couple of anecdotes that popped into my head while you were covering that. You had talked about growing up in a house where everything was kind of shoved under the rug, stay in your lane, don't create waves. My house, so my parents got divorced right after my wife and I got married. So they got divorced when I was an adult, and they should have got divorced 10 years before because they did not get along. They were really good as co-parents, but I have 3 sisters, so they raised 4 kids. And as the kids got older and there was your life changes. You go through stages in life, and like my kids are all grown up and off the payroll now. So it's my wife and I. And like I looked forward to it being my wife and I. Like I told all of my sons when they turned 18, I can't miss you if you won't go away. Like I want to miss you. It's like it's time to go out and take your lumps. I've taught you all I could. Now you got to go out and figure this shit out for yourself. But I would, as a kid, I remember vividly being 8 or 9 years old. I would get whatever sent to my room because my parents were fighting, and it was not physical fighting, but it was yelling, it was name calling. It was not good at that stage of their marriage. And I can remember sitting on my bed saying, I'm going to be married to someone I like. I'm not ever going to do this when I grow up. Like this is not how I want to live my life. And I never had a burning desire. I never had a burning desire to be a father. I did not want to be a father, but some people I can't wait to have kids. I was never that way. But even as a little kid, I wanted a really awesome marriage. I wanted to be married to a really good person, which is exactly what I did, by the way. And so it was super important to me to do that. And then just one anecdote, I try to encourage people to think about this a lot, especially in relationships with your spouse. You got to keep in mind that in every situation, it is you and your spouse versus the problem, not you versus your spouse.
You're stealing my
And
thunder.
like
We'll get
it's
to
just
that.
yeah. And I'm sure you can talk about it in greater length than my little anecdote there. But like if you can just keep that in the front of your mind, like this is your ride or die. If it's not you and your spouse against the world, you might be married to the wrong person. Like if you don't feel that way about them, I call it the fuck yeah test. Like, do you love your wife? Fuck yeah, I love my wife. Does your wife love
Nope.
you? Fuck yeah, my wife loves me. If that's not what you feel, man, I don't know. I don't know if you're getting it right. Maybe it's the wrong person. Maybe it's the wrong approach you're taking. But if you don't get that feel, and I'm talking, I've been with this woman for 33 years. Like I'm talking about this 33 years in. I'm still
Yeah.
that way, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. Hands down, man. I would take on the world with my wife. And you're getting ahead of me. But yeah, no, absolutely. I love to talk about that. I usually end with that. That's a killer piece, right?
That's all
But
right. We'll
yeah.
leave it to the end. No problem.
Okay, but we will circle back to this. So stick around for everyone that's listening. But yeah, it'll be good. But no, you're absolutely right. 100% is when you have a united couple, like perfect example, you and your wife, when you guys are like, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do this. We are together. We're going to rock on the world. You can literally conquer any challenge, any obstacle. Let's take on a business. Let's homeschool our kids. Let's go do this. Let's go travel here. Let's move here. You will come together and conquer any problem, which means there is nothing in life you can't achieve because you're united.
Yeah. And so a personal story on that. You get little opportunities. I don't know if they're little, but you get opportunities in a relationship to prove that that's how you feel and that's how you think. And one that happened pretty early in our relationship. So like I said, I was the one that went out and made the money. And just like everyone else, we started young and broke. And so we were
I
broke
know that.
for
I feel
a
that. I've
while.
been there.
Yeah, right. We've all been there. Like I
Yeah.
shouldn't say all, but most of us have been there. I've certainly been there. I have absolutely pulled change out of my couch to go buy a Whopper for my wife and I to split because we didn't have any other money. So I've been that poor before. But when we first got married, it was very important to her to be responsible for the finances. Fine with me. I literally didn't care. I'm not a money guy. Now I'm really good with math. I'm really good with numbers. I'm really good with problem solving, but I didn't care. Like to me, it was our money. I didn't give a shit. Literally didn't matter to me. So, and I'm not a spender. I don't go out and spend on crazy stuff. So fine. You could do whatever you want. Well, we had our first son. She got pregnant 3 months into our marriage, and so his birthday is 2 weeks before our anniversary. So like she literally got pregnant, and then we had another one because we didn't want our kids to be far apart, and we had kids faster than we made money. And so she was kind of moving things around. She opened a couple of credit cards and blah blah blah. She didn't want to tell me about it because she was afraid that I was going to be upset. And so this goes on for a while. And I come home from work one day and there's nobody in the house. We had two sons at the time. There's nobody there. And there's a stack of papers on our dining room table. And I'm like, did she fucking leave me? What the hell is going on here? Like, where is everybody?
That's
And
a
this
scary
is,
feeling.
yeah, this is before cell phones and all that stuff. I think we had just gotten our cell phone, so you couldn't track people back then. It was prehistoric days back in the day.
Back in the day. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about.
And so I go start looking through these papers, and it's all the credit card statements, and she's left them all there for me to see. And so and she did have a cell phone because I called her and I'm like, hey, where are you? And she's like in tears. She's sobbing. She's absolutely sobbing. She's like, I've screwed up our finances. We're in debt and I haven't told you about it. And I'm so upset. She said, are you mad at me? And I said, no, I'm hungry. Do you think you could come home so we could have some dinner? I'm like, it's just fucking money. And that just lets all the air out of it because it's our problem. We're married. We will solve it. And we did. And we went from there to, I said, I can fix this, but we got to do it my way. If you're comfortable turning it over to me, I can fix this. I know how to do this, but you might not like the process, but we'll get there. In 18 months, we'd paid off not only all that debt, but paid off all of our cars too in 18
Nice.
months from there. But it could have been what the fuck? How did you do this? Why would you not talk to me? What's the matter with you? Because look, I'll tell you, that's one where it was my wife that had a problem. There's dozens more issues that I created from my shitty behavior that she showed grace on, that she was patient on, that she was forgiving on. And so, I'm certainly not trying to make it look like I'm the awesome person and she's the burden in the relationship, because it's quite the opposite, to be straightforward. But that one's an easy one because you have opportunities to show your spouse in situations like that you value them and your relationship more than anything else. And I think that's really important.
I'm 100% with you, man. I mean, you've nailed it on the head. We could just stop right here and call it a day. We're good to go.
That's it. That's the George Costanza, right? We're leaving on a high
Yeah.
note.
I definitely, I mean, I'm more, I've got some of those stories where I did go in and I was more of a hero and I did better, but I'm gonna be honest, there's a lot more stories in my marriage, I think, where I was the jerk. I was the guy that created blame. What really helped us understand that, we have separate roles but we work together on a problem was understanding our circle of control.
Hmm.
That was a big piece for us. And so, like, going back to lasagna here for a second,
Yeah.
obviously, I didn't like it. It wasn't good. So I ate my one obligatory piece, and that was it. Well, my wife put it in the fridge, thinking, I'll pack it up and take some for lunch every day. So the week goes by, and I open the fridge every morning. I'm like, what do I want to take for lunch? Lasagna? No, thank you. Moldy cabbage. I'll take this, right? And I was like, I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch it. It didn't like it. It was weird. It felt wrong, but I also didn't say anything about it either. And so over time, the lasagna in the fridge went bad. And my wife opens the fridge and she tells the story a little better than me, so I got to give her credit for that. But she opens the fridge and she's like, "Wait a minute, do you not know the value and the effort that I put in to make that? And here you are not eating it, and now it's gone bad and I have to throw it away. What a waste of money, what a waste of funds. Come on, man." I mean, like, dude, seriously. And one of the things that really hit home for us is we did that a lot in our marriage, where someone wouldn't do something that we expected them to do. Like, hey, why don't you feel this way? Why don't you feel love? Don't you see all that I do? Why don't you get this done? Why can't you control this? Why can't you have better this? Why is your mother like this? Right? That kind of thing. And it was a lot of, what we call in somebody else's business. And the way that makes sense is where there's three businesses. There's your business, their business, and God's business. We like to call this his business, her business, and not your business. And what that is in your business, this is where you have total control. You have full control over what you think, do, feel, learn, and create. These are the areas that you have full responsibility, which means you're able to control it. So I can control the way I think, I can control the way I feel, I can control what I do and what I create. However, I have zero control over what my wife thinks, does, feels, learns, or creates. So I can't control the way she feels, but I can create an environment where she can feel loved and do the things that I know that she loves. And then last but not least is what we call God's business. And these are things that are outside of your control or anybody's control, such as a hurricane. So in Florida, we lived in Florida for a while, stationed down there, and you get hurricanes. And it's always fun because the news makes them out like these awful things. And if they hit you, yeah, they're awful. But they don't hit all of Florida every time.
Right.
But they are kind of nerve-wracking. And you can sit here and watch the news and stress out, oh my gosh, is this going to hit me? And it just causes you anxiety. But what you can do is you can create an evacuation plan. You can make sure you go and do and get enough water. You can communicate with your kids. Here's the plan. We're going to grandma's house if it gets here or hits this level. And you can have full control over those things. And we teach people that stressing about the things that are outside of your control just causes you anxiety. In fact, there was a lady, she found us on social media. And again, another person that came into our coaching program. And we taught her this. And she makes this sound. She goes, I was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Like, what just happened? She's like, epiphany. And I was like, all over the floor. Anyway, so yeah, I was like, tell me what's the epiphany? What'd you just have? And she's like, I gotta say 99% of my anxiety is because of the fact that I'm constantly worried about my husband's feelings. I'm like, do you feel okay? Do you feel all right? Do you feel loved? And she's to the point, he's just like, will you shut up, woman? Right? And I looked at her and I was like, yeah, you can't control that. I said, here's what you can control, though. I'm going to give you a challenge for the next week till we meet the next week. Here's what I want you to do. Stop focusing on how he feels and focus on what you're creating. Are you creating an environment that he can feel peace? Are you creating an environment that he can feel loved? It's his responsibility of his feelings, but you can create the environment. And so she's like, I want to do it. I want to do it. So a week later, she comes back and she's like, you won't believe it. He came up to me the other day and he's like, I don't know what changed in you, but I feel so loved by you. I love what you're doing. I love all this stuff. And it was just this revolution moment for her. And I was like, that's what it's all about right there. Because when we focus on what we can control and we let go of what we can't, we can have total peace in our environment and we can focus on achieving our goals in the areas that we know we have control over them.
Yeah, it's such a great exercise and such a great call out because most anxiety, nervousness, worry, whatever you want to call it, stems from people trying to control things that are beyond their control. Like they literally don't have control over it. And the flip side of that is a lot of times people, and I'll share a story about myself to illustrate this. A lot of times people will either abdicate or not recognize they do have control over things. They're just not doing a very good job of taking control of it. Right. So, I have a terrible temper and always have like, even as a kid, like I breezed through school. School was very easy for me. I was doing like high school math in fourth grade, blah, blah, blah. On every report card, I got needs improvement on demonstrate self control. It's starting in kindergarten. Every like A, right? So, um, when we very first got married, we needed a dining room table, the same dining room table that would later hold these financial documents that I came home to find. And we had no money, we had no credit. So I went to buy this table and I tried to buy it on like a 90-day same as cash program. And I got turned down for a fucking $300 dining room table that I couldn't afford. Yep. And so, because I had no credit, so we bought it on layaway, and we finally get it, and we bring it home, and I'm putting it together, and I'm underneath it, screwing the legs on, and I stand up and I hit my head on the table. So as
Oh,
I hit my head on the table, I stand up and I punch it, and
oh no.
even in good shape, a great shape, I'm a big guy. I'm not small. I'm like 6'3", 210 pounds when I'm in like really good shape. So like, and then I've got the temper, so it's not fun to be around me. And my wife says to me, "Does your head feel better or does your hand just hurt now?" And I took a step towards her, and I would never. Like I've told my wife lots of times, if I ever lay a finger on you or I ever lay a finger on the kids, you should leave and never ever come back. Because if someone would do it once, they will do it again. I would never harm you. That sounds good until you're in the moment and you see a fucking psycho coming at you, right? So I took a
Right.
step towards her and she looked at me and said, I don't like it when you're like this. It scares me. And that was like a slap in the face. I was like, ooh, that is a bad comment to hear from your wife. That is not good. Like, I have a responsibility to get this under control because I can't create an environment where she's afraid of me. That is fucking terrible.
Yeah.
And but that's what she needed to do to kind of help me understand how serious the situation was. And she was very calm when she did it. And it wasn't malicious. It wasn't you're a jerk. It was I'm fucking afraid of you. I don't like it when you get this way. It scares me. And that was enough for me to go, hey, you know what? I need to get control of this and I need to develop whatever coping mechanisms I need to develop to make sure she is in an environment where she doesn't ever feel that way again. So, again, it's you and your spouse against the problem, right? And the
Yeah.
problem in that instance happened to be me and my tempers. But
Yeah.
it's like you just talked about. That's part of creating the environment. You have a responsibility to do that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's very, very true. And one of the things I teach people too is like when you're feeling anxiety, you're feeling frustrated, whether it's at work, with your spouse, whatever the case is, ask yourself this question: am I in my business? I had a manager one time, I was talking to him, and he was getting really frustrated with these employees. And I did a workshop, and I looked at him and I said, hey, are you responsible for making your employees get the job done? He's like, absolutely. There's my job, and I got a productivity and meet them. He just went on this like list. I was like, all right, when you're done, anyway, he gets done, runs out of air, and I said, actually, I want to teach you something new. You can let go of that responsibility because you are not responsible for getting the work done. They are. and they're responsible for getting it done right. What you are responsible for is creating an environment in which they can. Do they have the right standard operating procedures? Do they know the responsibilities when you go on leave on what they need to do? Do they know how to succeed without you being there? And on top of that, do they have the freedom and do they feel safe to try new things and fail? Because if they try new things, they'll come up with more effective, more efficient ways of getting stuff done. But if they don't feel safe to fail, like if they mess up and you're just going to yell at them, then they're not going to try. So you want your team to innovate, you want your team to be more productive, allow them to fail, and create a safe environment. So that's what I told them. I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to focus on creating a safe environment. The director actually called me about a month and a half ago. This was 6 months ago. And he said, I don't know what you did to those teams that you taught this workshop to, but they are the most productive and profound teams I have in my entire organization. He's like, can you come teach more? I was like, yeah, I can come teach more, right? But what I learned in that, though, working with people like that, is a lot of people are taught these things. Perfect example. I'm going to go back into childhood trauma a little bit. As a kid, you do something dumb in the supermarket, mom grabs your hand. Do you know how that makes me look? Do you know how that makes me feel? Truth is, as a parent, I never want to tell it to my kids. I did this exercise with my kids. I'm going way off subject, but where I sat down and I asked them some questions. I said, hey, I want you to finish the sentence for me. I said, children should be seen. And my daughter yells from across the room. I'm talking to my son. My daughter yells from across the room, and heard. I was sitting there. I cried because that was not what I was told growing up. I was told children should be seen and not heard. And so I asked the same question. I said, if you don't stop crying, and I just left it there for my son to finish. And he goes, I'll give you a hug. It's like, that is not what I was told growing up. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is what it is. So for you, when you decide to stay in your business and take control of it, you can defeat generational curses. You can change your family's dynamic and you can be productive in any area because you know how to control it and focus on it. And then you can help others do the same, not by making them take control of their business, but showing them how to, by one, demonstrating it, and then encouraging them, showing them how you did it.
So
I love it. Go ahead.
have we, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but I'm curious how you wound up resolving the lasagna situation. Are we not there yet?
We got two pieces to the lasagna story, and you've already kind of hit on it, but it's how to win every argument. In order to win an argument with your spouse, you have to have one. So my wife loves me, and she is a dedicated woman. I mean, she's incredible. Over the years, for different birthdays, she actually tried new recipes. She tried various ones. I think she tried like 7 different recipes, 5 different recipes, something like that. I didn't like any of them. And to be honest, they just weren't how my mom made it. And I never said that, but they just didn't. She got to the point, she's like, I give up. If I can't make you happy, why bother trying? This was before we learned about the businesses, right? Well, I'm at work and I'm sitting in the break room and I'm talking to my boss. And of course, we're talking about our favorite foods. And I'm like, oh man, I love a good lasagna. And he's like, oh, bro, my wife makes an amazing lasagna. I'll have her make you one and you can take it home to your wife and you'll love it. All I could think was, oh God, please don't. Well, anyway, the next day, in the break room fridge is a 9x13 pan with kiwi written right across the top. And I opened it up, it's lasagna. And it looked really good, by the way. And I thought in that moment, do I leave it here and disappoint my boss? Or do I take it home and possibly have one of the greatest fights with my wife?
Right.
But I also thought, I'm going to be real honest, I also thought this will probably be the first time in my marriage that I've had good lasagna.
It's a conundrum.
I took it home. I didn't tell my wife. I just put it in the fridge, right? Tried to be subtle. I am not subtle. I am not sly at all. My wife finds it. She's got the fridge open and she sees it. She knows what it is. She's like, what's this? She sounds just like that, by the way. And I'm like, food. Where'd you get it? My boss's wife made it. My wife shuts the door to the fridge and she says, she puts her hands on her hips and she says something I will never forget. And she looks at me sitting on the couch and she goes, couldn't get it from your wife. So I had to get it from another man's wife. Huh. The rest of the story cannot be shared on a family friendly podcast.
Well, we're not family friendly.
It was bad, man. It was bad. Like the argument that went on after that was one of the greatest fights. And it got so bad that the people that knew us, that knew our story, would literally, like at dinner, they would just go, lasagna. And me and my wife would go into a fight. Like it was bad. It was bad. It became this dirty word. But we learned over the years and through a lot of study on how to win every argument every time. And you've already shared the secret, so I'm just going to jump right into it. And that is, it's you and me versus the problem. So if you think back to when you're first married, right? You and I were both 21, and you're holding her hand and you're looking into her eyes and you're in love and you're like, I'll take on the world with you. We'll conquer any obstacle together, sickness and health, rich or poor. Yeah. Well, then kids come along. Then someone maxes out the credit card. I was not as mature as you in that situation, by the way. The mother-in-law visits, right? And now it's you're the problem. No, you're the problem. No, you just act like your mom. I mean, it was, I know how it goes, right? So there's two steps to win an argument. Number one is a mindset shift, and we talked about it already, which is it's you and me versus the problem. So you have to have enough situational awareness that, we're arguing, we need to stop. And then you say out loud, okay, sorry, honey, it's you and me versus the problem. Sometimes the argument is so heated that you need to go take 5 minutes and then come back. So you might say, hey, honey, it's you and me versus the problem. I know we're really heated. Can we take a 5-minute break? And then I'd love to come back and figure out what the real problem is here with you and me and work together. I love you and I want to work on it together. So whether the wife or the husband, whoever it is in the relationship, determines, we're arguing, let's back up. Say it out loud. It's you and me versus the problem. Now, the second thing is this, and this is something that I've actually combined healthcare knowledge, cybersecurity knowledge, working with couples, working in leadership of military operations, all into one. And it's this: the problem is never what's complained about. It's usually the symptom. Perfect example. Somebody walks into a doctor's office and they're like, Doc, I got this chest pain, man. The chest pain's probably not the problem. The doctor then creates what's called a differential diagnosis. The differential diagnosis is a list of things, of possible causes of the chest pain. Now, depending on age, what happened, history, it might be, something trauma related or heart attack related, right? Well, in this case, let's say it's a heart attack. The heart attack that they're having, again, is not the problem. That's something we have to deal with right now, but that's still a symptom of the real problem, which was bad health or genetics or something else that caused it, right? A lot of times it's bad health. And so when you're fighting over something, it's usually over a symptom, not the actual problem. So we get asked a lot, and I had one lady, like, I was sharing this in a webinar, and she's like, oh my gosh, how do you figure it out? I was like, hang on, I'm getting there. I'm with you, I get it. I had the same thing. I was like, how do you guarantee you find the root of the problem every time? And here's how. Have you seen the movie Frozen?
I have not, because my kids were too old when Frozen came out.
All right, your homework. You gotta go watch the movie Frozen. Well, there's a part in the movie Frozen when they're explaining their mission to this snowman called Olaf. And for those of you that are listening, know what I'm talking about. And he sits there and he's looking at her like, why are you doing that? And he goes, yeah, why? And they explain a little bit. And he goes, yeah, why? And they explain a little bit. And they go, yeah, why? And he just repeats that phrase. And it's really cute. It's really funny. But that's what you're going to do. You're going to ask why at least 5 times. Now, you got to be careful with this. If you're in an argument and you just look at your wife like, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that way? It's not going to go well. You have to be a little smart about it. Be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. Why do you feel that way? Or I hear what you're doing. Why do you suppose that is that way? And you're going to ask why and why related questions. Sometimes what or how's, but you're going to ask those questions until 2 things change. One, you'll notice that you found the real problem when it changes from a you did or this happened or they did into a I feel. For example, my mother-in-law visits and it doesn't go well. And I'm telling you, your mother-in-law is the problem or you're the problem. You won't let me do this. And it turns out what it really was is I don't feel safe in my own home because I don't like the way she controls everything while she's here. That was the real problem. So when the person answering the question, it changes from this happened, they did to I feel, you have found it. Or, and it's usually both of these, the tone changes. They cry a little bit, or they get a little open and vulnerable. The volume comes down and they go, well, here's the truth. And it starts to get a little more emotional. And you have to be careful, because in that moment, if you throw that back in their face like you would in a fight, they will never open up to you. They're like, you are not safe to open up. So in this process, you're going to say it's you, me versus the problem. And then you're going to ask why until you find the root of the problem. And when you do, you say this, hey, it's you and me versus the problem. Let's figure it out together.
Yeah. Love that. And it's such a visceral way to refocus you on what's truly important in the situation. And it's funny on the symptom thing. I've obviously we have lots of different folks that talk about different topics on the podcast. I mean, they're all about building a purposeful life and building the life that you want, and kind of taking control of your situation. But that can take very different forms, and some of it can be about business, and some of it can be about relationships, and some of it can be about personal mental health or personal physical health, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a woman on, and she's a great lady. Her name is Braca, and she talked about addiction. And addiction is rarely about whatever the thing is you're addicted to. So even if it's alcohol, even if it's methamphetamine, even if it's insert notoriously addictive substance here, is there some science behind, yes, your system can get addicted to those things? Sure, that's absolutely true. I'm not saying that like it's easy to just put down the crack pipe and stop smoking meth. I get it. But the reason you're making those choices is actually not because you want the meth. There's something else driving it. And so it's until you get to that, that's why so many people struggle to get themselves out of those situations, is because they keep trying to treat the symptom like you just talked about and not get to the root cause of the problem. And so I love that approach from a relationship perspective to say, hey, what is it that we actually should be talking about here? Because we're talking about stuff that isn't going to get us where we want to be, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. That is one of the most profound things that helped me, because I don't know how many times what I was complaining about or fighting about or bringing up over and over was a symptom. For talking about addiction, man, I mean, I was never addicted to methamphetamines. I can't go there, but I was a heavy Pepsi drinker.
Mm.
And everyone's like, "Oh, well, that's not bad." I'm like, "No, for me, it was bad. I mean, it was bad. You're talking 2 pots of coffee a day, 32 ounces of Pepsi a day. I barely drank water. It was bad." And it took my wife a long time. I'm actually, this year will be 5 years Pepsi free, right? I haven't touched a
Wow.
Pepsi, Dr. Pepper, Coke, none of that. But for me, I realized it was my stress answer. Anytime I got stressed at work, I would have a Pepsi. Anytime I got stressed at home, I would have a Pepsi. And so for me, in order to get off of that, I had to address, and you nailed it, the problem, which was my stress management. And so I had to come up with that. And so for me, I did the wean technique, where I stopped drinking that, but I replaced it with bubbling water. The crack of a can and the sound gave me the dopamine hit. Same thing as with like someone just pulling a cigarette out even without smoking it. It just gave me that dopamine hit. Bubbling soda is not very good, by the way. Not a huge fan of it, but it helped me get off of it. But what I really had to do was find better stress management techniques at work and at home. And that, for me, that turned into fitness and exercise. So I exercise way more than I used to, but I have way better stress management. And my dad had open heart surgery, and his dad had open heart surgery. My goal in my 50s is to not have open heart surgery. This is my
There you
fitness
go.
goal. Like, I don't want it.
Yeah, and so it's funny because on addiction, I have no scientific evidence to prove this, but I'm certain that I'm right. We all get addicted to things, whether it's substances, situations, activities, whatever. The goal here is to get yourself addicted to things that help you and make you better, and avoid getting addicted to things that hurt you and make you worse.
Yep.
And the challenge there becomes when you want to stop what you consider a bad habit. And there are some habits that I think are just objectively bad. Smoking, for example, right? There's no redeeming qualities about smoking. It's expensive. It's bad for your lungs. It's bad for the people around you. There's nothing good about it. But let's just say for whatever reason, you're a cigarette smoker. If you try to quit, even if you wean off, it's going to be really difficult unless you replace it with a healthier habit. You
Yep,
have to
that
have a
helps.
healthier addiction to put in its place. And I think exercise is a great one. I love the quote that food is the most abused drug in the world, and exercise is the least prescribed prescription in the world. And I think both of those are true when you stop and think about them, because all of the things we're talking about here, those are all completely within your control, right? You don't need to go to a doctor. You don't need to get a prescription. You don't need anything other than the knowledge that you should try these things, and then the intestinal fortitude to try them and stick to them, and make them a part of your life. And I think that's one of the things I love about what you and your wife do, is that you're arming people with the tools they need to build successful relationships, and which will allow them to build a successful life on the foundation of that successful relationship. So I
Absolutely.
just, that's, it's got to be super rewarding. Like, that's got to be something that you guys love doing.
It is. It is so cool to see. We work with a lot of entrepreneur couples, but we do work with a couple of couples where like he's the CEO or CFO of a company and she's like a stay-at-home mom. But he's like, my work doesn't go well if my relationship at home isn't going good. I'm like, you've nailed it, right? But in those situations, when we take a couple, and I love to have them make a little like 1 minute video of what their life was like before our 8 week coaching program, and then they make one afterwards, and it's night and day. And it's so rewarding for me. I'm like, I live for that. I live for those moments when people go, that's where my anxiety comes from. That's where I can change. And they have full control of it and they own it. And it's beautiful. I mean, just beautiful to see the difference that we can make in the world with just little things that we change.
And is that 8 week coaching program, is that what you offer? Do you do, excuse me, obviously you offer that, but do you offer different services, or do you take different approaches, or have you found that to be super successful and that's where you try to work with people?
So we sat down and we went through everything we've learned, retreats, conferences, podcasts. We've invested tens of thousands of dollars into different things. And we said, how do we make this simple? So for us, it took over a decade to get through a lot of our problems and work on a lot of things. And like, how do we make this into a short, sweet spot? So we had it at 6 weeks, but we've moved it to 8 because we do a couple of sessions where we just do one with the wife and one with the spouse. And that's why it's 8. We do 8 1-hour sessions over the course of 8 weeks with the couple. We do it with singles. When it's just a single person, it's just 6 weeks. But we go through this setup that we've learned and we simplify it. So at the end of this, it's just 6 1-hour sessions or 8 1-hour sessions. But what it gives you is the tools, like a couple that we just talked about today, to build strong, healthy relationships. And what that means for that person is they can finally have the success that they want in the foundation of the amazing life that they're building on top of it.
I love that. And you're working on some new stuff now too. Can you talk a little bit about what you're working on now? It's not
Absolutely.
ready yet.
So
I know it's not ready yet, but
by the time this airs, hopefully some of this stuff will be ready and you can get it from our website. One of the things that we're working on right now is a short course that you can just do in 90 minutes. And the idea of this course is you cannot change your destination overnight, but you can change your direction. And in 90 minutes, you learn a couple of key tools in the mini course, basically, that will set you up for success going the right way. The second piece is we're taking our 8 week training, and instead of doing it over 8 weeks, we're going to turn the whole thing into what we call our signature course. This should be available kind of towards the end of this year, right around hopefully Thanksgiving, Christmas time. That so people can set up themselves for their new year with a new you, new marriage, new relationships, ready to rock your life.
nice. And are you introducing new stuff, or is it like 2.0 version, updated, more improved version of what you've been teaching and coaching so far?
We've got a lot of what we've been teaching and coaching so far in there. We're also bringing in some other experts in areas that I'm not an expert in, bringing
Mm.
that knowledge in, bringing that stuff in. And so it's going to be loaded. I mean, it's going to be so much value packed in a short period of time. Even the mini course, that's going to have a whole lot in it, more than what I've even talked about in this call. A lot of different tools and techniques. Go try this on a date night. Go try this, right? That sort of thing. But the signature talk or the signature course is going to have a phenomenal list inside of it.
Man, that's so cool. That's a lot of work though, huh?
It is a lot of work. It's something we've actually been working on since the beginning of this year. I was hoping to have it done by the summer, and I was like, okay, no, we got a lot more work to do because we want it to be exactly what people need in the moment that they need it. And so some people they come to us and they're like, dude, I need help right now. My marriage is on the verge of collapsing, and they need help right now. So we try to get them into a quick session if we have an availability that week. But with a course, they can get going right then and there. And the course will also have and when you hit certain points and say, okay, cool, go book a one-on-one now and let's talk about it together. So you still get that. You still get to go to the Q&A meetings. You still get to be a part of that in the course as well. But a lot of people too, they're like, my marriage is pretty good, but I can start to see, especially after listening to you, the slow drift that's going on, and I want to fix that now. And then there's some people that we've worked with. They're like, dude, my marriage is incredible. It's great, but it's just not at that level that I want it to be. Will this help me? The answer is yes to all of them. Having the right tools in your pocket make all the difference. You can go and build a house, but if you have the right hammer, if you have the right saw, if you have the right building materials, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, for sure. Man, that's cool. I'm really excited to see it when it comes out. I'll check it out when it's available.
Definitely.
You do speaking too. You do keynote speaking. Talk a little bit about that.
I do, and this started from a lot of my mental health journey. I try not to go too dark, especially towards the end of a podcast. Try to end on a high note, but I've been there. I've done that. I've had a gun to my head, and it's not gone well. I'm still here. Praise God, right? But I've been through a lot, and I said earlier in the podcast, I've been through hell so many times that I got a punch card and the next trip is free. But I've buried 11 people in a single year, including my own daughter. And through all of that and through all of that trauma, I learned a key thing. And this is usually what I share in a lot of my keynotes, especially when people are just wanting to really bring some hope into what we're doing. And that is the pressure that you have faced, the heat that has burned you, and the things in your life that have cut you deeply and felt like you lost a part of yourself is actually the same process in the way a diamond is made. But a diamond in a dark room is nothing more than a sharp rock. You have to be willing to step out, go on a podcast, get up on a stage, share with a friend the things that you have been through, and let the light shine on your story, because your story is the brilliance and the hope and the light that somebody else is looking for. So what you've been through, it's built you into something beautiful, breathtaking, and unbreakable. You are diamond.
Have you always been attracted to public speaking, or is that something that developed in your life?
Oh, absolutely. I have been always attracted to public speaking. Growing up, I liked talking and got made fun of a lot. My dad said, son, you sure yammer a lot. My grandmother gave me a compliment. She's like, do you ever shut up? My sister, though, she paid me the highest compliment of all. We're sitting in the car and we're just talking back and forth. And she looks over at me. She's like, does your jaw ever get sore? And the comments were theirs. By all means, that's their business, right? The comments were theirs, but I allowed them to become the voices in my head, the ones that told me I talk too much. And this went on for years. I sat myself a while back in a conference and the speaker was on the stage, and I swear, everyone swears they stared right at you. I swear he stared right at me. And he goes, if you shut up, people die. And I realized in that moment that I had a gift. I had a gift for speaking, and I was wasting it, not sharing my story, not sharing the hope that I bring, not sharing the hell that I've been through to help inspire and encourage and empower people to be more than they thought they could be. And I show them how to do it because I've been there. And so that was the start of my journey. I told my wife, I said, I'm going to be a keynote speaker. I want to be one of the greatest that there ever has been. I went ahead and I was like, if you're going to shoot for the moon, let's go all the way.
You
And
bet.
so I did. I started studying. I started taking classes. I started doing things. And as I did that, things opened up at work. I just spoke at Motorola Summit this past, I think it was May. I spoke at a lot of different areas over the years. I've been in Japan, Vietnam, and I'm like, I love this. Because even if I only have 45 minutes with someone and I never see them again, I can share a story of hope that helps them get on the right track in the right direction. I can't change their destination, but I can change their direction.
Man, that's awesome. I love that you're sharing that with people. And one thing we notice with all the awesome people we bring onto the podcast is that their lives really improve and become kind of awesome when they focus on helping other people. And when the locus of control or the locus of concentration goes from inward to outward, like kind of the whole world opens up for them. And it sounds like you've experienced that as well. Just curious what your thoughts are on like the impact of that on the rest of your life, focusing on helping other people, right? It's your business,
Oh
helping
yeah.
other people and speaking and those kinds of things.
I feel like I'm just getting started though, man. I mean, I know I have a lot in my short little life, but I feel like I'm just getting started. But you're absolutely right. One of the things that I teach, I actually designed a course called Rise and Renew to help people go from suicide to thrive. And one of the things I talk about is you start with gratitude. You start with being grateful for what you have. But the best way to heal some of your trauma is to turn around and help others heal theirs.
Mm.
I healed so much from 2017, the year I buried 11 people. I healed so much from that year over the last 3 years, where me and my wife have really dedicated into helping couples, helping young kids. I do public speaking classes at our local library. I mean, like when I started doing stuff like that to just help other people, it gave my life so much more meaning and it brought me the healing in a lot of areas that I was looking for.
Mm. Yeah, it's such good stuff. It's such a powerful message. And kudos to you for being both candid and sharing the challenges that you faced and helping other people kind of understand and learn what you've been able to learn and distilling it to them in a way that is useful, that they can take it back and apply it in their everyday life. Because, like we talked about earlier, it's great to talk about things, it's great to think about things, it's great to plan, but without taking action, it's really not going to get you where you want to be, you know?
Absolutely. And I don't know how much time we'll have here, but I'll leave you guys with this. We'll talk about the lasagna story and bring it to a wrap on that. And you got to finish it, right? And so it really helps to have the right person to guide you, to coach you, and lead you to get you where you wanted to go. And that doesn't come until you ask for help. Well, after 10 years of marriage, my wife finally swallowed her pride and she made the trek to my mom's house to ask for the lasagna recipe. True story, true story. And so she goes in and she sits down at the kitchen table with my mom, and my mom's sitting across from her, and she looks at her, and I love it when she's here and she can tell the story a little better. But she's like, "What is this recipe? I love your son. He's a little weird, but I love him, and I want to make him the right lasagna, and I'm willing to do what it takes. Can I have your coveted recipe that apparently that's what he loves?" Because she knows what I'm really looking for is what my mom made. My mom looked at her shocked, totally surprised by the question. And then she shrugged and looked at her and said, "What recipe? I always bought it frozen from the store."
I was going to say it was Stouffer's, wasn't it?
It was a Stouffer's frozen lasagna. Oh man, when my wife told me that, I was like, because she had made some really good high quality Italian recipes and stuff, and I was like, apparently I just like cheap lasagna with lots of salt. I felt awful. I felt so bad. But what I want people to know is it took us 10 years just to find a solution to that problem. And it's not something that I want you to have to wait around for. It's literally, if you are in a situation where you need help, there is some amazing guests on these podcasts, especially Salty Ginger, and it's the opportunity here. There's some amazing people out there that have been through what you're trying to get through. Calling out for help and reaching out and saying, "I need some help to solve this problem." You'd be surprised. It's a lot easier to get the help that you need once you ask. The hardest part is just asking and reaching out and saying, "Hey, how can I get help with this? Would you be willing to help me?" And that sort of thing. And so for us, we want to make sure that every person, no matter where they're at, no matter what they're doing, doesn't feel alone and know that I'm stuck in this and I'm going to have to get myself out of here. No, there's a whole world of people, whether it's addiction, whether it's marriage coaching, whether it's working in your business, doing a workshop, whether it's getting a keynote speaker. If you're like, "I'm stuck, I can't solve this problem," there's a world of people out there that want to help you and want to help you and see you succeed.
Yeah, love that. And appreciate the kind words about our podcast. We do have lots of awesome people on here, but we're agnostic. If you can find that help somewhere else on another pod, like do it, man. Like just all we care about is we want people to take control of their lives and build the lives that they want. If this isn't the right platform or format, totally cool with it. Go find the right platform or format, but find what you're looking for and build the life that you want. That's like what it's all about for us. So, um,
Absolutely.
yeah, totally love it. So, well, Kiwi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. You did an awesome job. It's clear that you've done a whole bunch of research and preparation. You've got a ton of experience on these subjects. So, really appreciate you sharing all that with our listeners. And listeners, we will have links to get you connected with Kiwi in the show notes. You don't have to go far to look. If you want to connect with them, if you're interested in some of the counseling, if you're interested in checking them out, just check the show notes out because all the information will be right down there. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. It was an honor.
Awesome. Thanks, Kiwi. Have a great night.
You too. Thanks, Joe.
All right. Bye-bye. Okay, guys. So there you go. Like we talked about, Kiwi did an awesome job. Super high energy guy, great communicator, really passionate about helping people and about helping couples in particular navigate the world together in a productive and useful way. And love the work that he and his wife are doing. So great job by him. Again, all of his links to get in contact with him will be in the show notes. So if you want to check them out, just check the show notes out and take a look at that new course. When we talked to him, this episode's airing in September. He said it might be October, November before it comes out. So you might have to go back and check it out. But make sure you take a look at it. Sounds like some interesting stuff going on in there. We really appreciate him coming on the podcast and sharing all that valuable information with all of our listeners. So James puts it up right over there every day. Head over to our website, saltygingertalk.com. All our podcast episodes are available there. Links to all the social media accounts are available there. We've got a newsletter that we publish every weekday that you can subscribe to there. Please like, share, comment, subscribe to the podcast, whatever platform you consume it on. We have awesome guests. We give you awesome tips to build the life that you want, to be purposeful, to have a purpose-driven life, to take action. You don't want to miss any of those opportunities, whether it's our tips and tricks, whether it's our guests' experience and tips and tricks. Make sure you catch the next episode. We will see you there.